As financial planners, are we keeping up to the promise that we make to our clients? First of all, are we making any promise at all by being just a mutual fund distributor? A client comes to us and says, these are my goals, so we make a list of investments to be made. Client makes those investments and goes away. Is our job over, or are we trying to say something that okay, I am the person to whom you should come whenever you have any kind of a financial crisis? Or are you saying, look, I am just a wealth planner, come to me only if you have wealth issues? If you have a home loan and if you do not know whether to repay or whether to invest, I am not the right person to ask, because I only know how to manage your money. I have no clue on the borrowing side, on what you should do with your credit card, etc. If you are about to lose your job, or if you have lost your job, well, that's your problem. I can tell you that there is 5 lakhs lying in your liquid fund, and that's how much you wanted to keep, and that much I have kept, and beyond that I do not know. Do you do that, or do you say, okay, here is what I can do for you, and I can help you, I can talk to you, and that kind of a thing? So there is some kind of an implied promise saying, look, I am your go-to person, come to me and I will tell you what to do now, which money to withdraw. Currently, for example, if your client has got money in liquid fund and he has got money in the US stocks, or he's got money in some mid-cap stocks which have run amok in terms of how much it has appreciated, should you be removing money from his liquid fund, from his US fund, or from his mid-cap fund, right? Difficult questions to answer. So do you answer those questions, or do you just say, well, the book says I should withdraw money from a liquid fund and I will withdraw money from a liquid fund, I will not remove money from an equity fund? Guys, please realize, for some of your clients who are 40, 45, 50, the retirement may have already arrived. So now you have to think of him or her as a retired person and not as a person who is still in the job market. The further SIPs are going to stop. His retirement, which he thought was at 60, has unfortunately happened at 52. Right? So you may have to be the person who gets him ready to accept that next 7-8 years of his life he may not get a similar job. Even if he gets a job which he is able to meet his day-to-day expenses, he is still better off, because over 8 years you can hopefully get his money to double. If his money doubles over the next 8 years, then at least his retirement is happening at 60. He is not accumulated as much as he thought he would accumulate, because last 8 years he has not contributed at all. Now, with whatever he had till 52, after that he has not added, but you have managed that corpus at 52 well, and made sure that the corpus is closer to the amount that you thought you will have when he is 60, and then he gives you the good news that at 60 he gets an extension for 5 years. So the problem has been sorted out. The question is, how do you handle this? Do you tell him all this? Do you tell him, okay, find a job which will last longer, even though it will pay less? You lost a 70-80 lakh rupee job, you got a 30 lakh rupee job, which is not bad at all, because this 30 lakh rupee job is not going to last just 8 years. It might last 15 years, because you're working in a family, family or kind of an organization which does not have strict retirement rules, right? Some of those things. So hand-holding a client during such periods of crisis, when you are yourself going through a lot of crisis, right? What about a client who had put money in Anugrah and he has lost 50 lakhs or a crore, right? These kind of clients also exist, which you didn't know. I find IFAs who didn't know that their clients had given money to Anugrah through some other IFA. Right? When an IFA is afraid to tell you the whole story of his life, it's very difficult for when a client does not tell you the full story of his life, it's very difficult for an IFA to know what all the client is doing with his money. Now, to help such a client who is telling you only half the story or a quarter part of the story is really very difficult. However, you cannot tell him that you didn't tell me this, because he is already having the guilt feeling and reeling under it. And now don't go and rub it in and say, if you had asked me, I would have told you not to put. Too late. You did not create a communication between the two of you that he could ask what he was doing. He was a little afraid, and the other IFA must have told him, don't ask your own IFA what to do. Come only to me and I will help you, right? So the money went into an IFA, into a FNO margin, and the money got wiped out. So the client has lost his money. Now if you have a client who has put money in mutual funds and direct equity and given the money to Anugrah, that client has lost money. Now the question is, what is the relationship that you have with the client? You have not created a relationship by which he comes to you for every transaction, and that is because either you said, look, I don't know, I can't help you, or things in the past which put him off, or you said something because of which he does not think it worthwhile coming to you. Will the other advisor say, don't ask your existing advisor? Of course he will. But if the client is not strong enough or not brainy enough to come to you, it is necessary that annually when you're talking to him, or at least quarterly when you're talking to him, you probe, find out whether he's doing something else, right? If you didn't do it, well, I am 100% sure that 90% of the mistake is the client's mistake. But for you, the learning as an advisor, the learning should be, what can I do with the client? How can I communicate with the client in such a way that he thinks it is worthwhile coming and telling me about every transaction? That can happen only if you are chasing the client's welfare instead of trying to chase the fees. Because, for example, if you don't sell life insurance, like many mutual fund advisors don't, just help him get the correct life insurance. Put him on to a person who will give him a life insurance. If you don't do medical insurance, you can't say medical insurance is not important. You can only say medical insurance is very important. Here is my friend XYZ who will do it for you, and I don't charge a fee for that. That's fine. You don't have to charge a fee for everything. Giving a lead of a lawyer who will make the will, giving the lead of a medical insurance or a health insurance advisor, that's not something which you should be avoiding, because then the client will go and do something with somebody else which could hurt him very badly and hurt the whole wealth process. Remember, wealth comes at the top of the table. The client will first borrow money, buy a house, he will borrow money, buy another house, he will do all those things, he will have children's education, all that, and after that he comes to retirement planning and wealth planning. You are at the top of the pyramid. If you let there be weak foundations, then the pyramid will never get formed. So you have to be with the client, in the client's life for all those things, which whether you do it or you don't do it for a fee. Help the client through the whole process, and then have such a strong hold over the client that when he says, look, I'm going to put some money with this broker in his pool account, and from that he's going to pay me 1% per month, you tell him, idiot, you dare not do it. And believe me, it is not very difficult to build up such relationship. Of course, being older helps, but telling a client, will you stop listening to all your stupid friends working in stupid places? These are not the people who are your financial advisors. They don't understand. So when something like Anugrah happens and people get wiped out, you realize that, oh my God, what has happened? And then your client who was getting a 8% return or a 7% return in his bond fund will stop cribbing about the 12% return which his mama's son or mommy's son was getting. And because he'll see that he's wiped out 80% of his portfolio on one particular day, right? So the question is, how have you built the relationship? Have you built it in a way that the client comes and asks you things, and that means he knows that you know the technical side and the emotional side of money, and therefore he thinks it is worth talking to you. Then get educated about how the client is going to transition from one job to another or one generation to another. That's also important. How he is going to handle it. How is he going to handle the move from being an entrepreneur to an employee, or employee to entrepreneur, right? Get to know all those things. How his cash flows will be different. How he might not be doing an SIP for 3 years. Instead, he would be doing an SWP till his business stabilizes, right? You need to understand all that. You need to sympathize with him. You need to be with him, because if you are not there during the worst period of his life, he is likely to go and get some absolutely shitty, wrong advice of putting money in Anugrah and earning extra 12% per annum, as though this was, child's play. I am stunned at people who think that they can put their portfolio into somebody else's pool account and earn 1% per month. But there are such people. There are people giving such advice, and if your friend, neighbor, brother, sister, colleague, classmate, relationship persons, right, go and do such deals, then it's time to kick them in the butt and tell them that look, it doesn't happen, right? And when the client starts communicating to you in a different way, you send him a WhatsApp, he sends you an email, you call up, he says I'll call you back, then he doesn't call up, or you ask for details, you took this home loan, where did you take it from, and there is silence on that side. You realize your client is talking to somebody else, he's getting some advice, maybe good, bad, ugly. It is your job to call him and warn him that what is happening. Of course, he will suspect that you have a vested interest. So what? Of course, you have a vested interest. You want to ensure that his wealth does not get dissipated, because if his wealth gets dissipated, he loses wealth and you lose a client. For you, it's just one client gone out of maybe 200. For him, it is a lifetime saving stroke investment wiped out. He has to realize, and you have to make him realize that you have his good at heart. Of course, you have your fees at heart. There is no doubt about that. But you still have his good at heart, and his good at heart is good for you too. And therefore, you will make sure that he does not dissipate his wealth, right? So communicating to him that you are doing all this for him is important, so that he feels confident that he comes back to you and says, look, I made this mistake, what should I do? Or he comes and tells you every transaction of his. I mean, when I say every transaction, I mean every major financial transaction, or whether giving power of attorney or whether making a will, you have a small role in it, right? Make sure that you communicate to the client in such a way that the client thinks it worthwhile communicating with you about it before he does anything wrong or right. Thank you.